thank James for his fine speech, and call upon Lord Dannatt to front the opposition.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, can I say first of all it's a great delight to be back in Durham, somewhere like you, which I enjoyed for 3 years as an undergraduate. I've been associated with the university for quite some time since, so it's a great pleasure to be here once again. It's some 42 years since I was president and sat in the chair for the freshers debate in Michaelmas term 1974. I can't remember the exact wording of the motion that evening, but I know it's something to do questioning the value of politicians. Having been in the army for 5 years before I came up, perhaps that wasn't entirely surprising. It was also some 18 months after the United Kingdom had joined the European Union, which we did on the 1st of January 1973. And here we are again, some 4 months after we voted to leave the European Union, and now debating the concept of the nation state. And what we're going to do this evening, I'm going to spread out some of the argument, and my colleagues are going to add some of the killer detail, which will actually make it quite clear. While this is an interesting notion that the proposition are putting forward, frankly, it's not one that I would at all recommend that you voted for tonight. And defeating this motion must be in the back of your mind, constantly asking yourself, why would I vote for this motion? It's quite difficult to do so. But can I also say it's a particular pleasure to be taking part in a debate rather than just giving an after-dinner speech, which it's become my lot to do quite significantly, or many times in recent years. And particularly if you are at all associated with any of the city livery companies in London, you'll know that they often have a lot of speeches. After dinner, it could be 3, 4, or on one occasion I was the 5th speaker, which is pretty taxing for everybody, particularly for that person who's the 5th speaker. During the evening, I've been sitting next to Betty Boothroyd, that very well-known former Speaker of the House of Commons, and I said to her, I think there's something wrong here, you're much more eminent than I am. Why is it that apparently I'm the principal guest and I've got to make the last speech and not you? And she said, well, darling, I've learned from bitter experience that by this stage of the evening, they've all had far too much to drink. All they want is a stand-up comic, so you carry on. But I'm not going to be a stand-up comic tonight, which may be something of a disappointment, but I'd like to make the case for the continuing validity of the nation state as a relevant concept today. But after that interesting historical introduction that we've had, I think let's be quite clear what we are talking about when we refer to a nation state. I think at its simplest, it could be said to be a state made up of the people of one nation, of one extended ethnic grouping. But do many of those actually exist? Yes, okay, there are countries like Albania, Armenia, Bangladesh, Egypt, Hungary, and about a dozen others where the population is made up of 95% or more of people who have the same ethnic or national identity. And the physical territory within which those people live constitutes a state. Therefore, it's a nation state. But I don't think we're debating the relevance of those kind of countries this evening. I think what we're talking about is a more utilitarian understanding of a nation state. And I would call that nation state an internationally recognised entity where there's an effective government whose writ runs within the state boundaries and where there is equal social and economic opportunity for all citizens living within those boundaries. Taking the traditional and simplistic definition of a nation state, the United Kingdom would not qualify. But taking my more modern definition, it does, regardless of the identifiable and separate English, Welsh, Scottish and Irish national characteristics. And one celebrates that diversity. After all, the Six Nations Rugby Championship would be very boring if that were not the case. With all due respect to France, and of course, I mustn't forget Italy. So the UK is what Tony Blair's government described us as being countries within a country. And notwithstanding the huffing and puffing about Scottish independence, the UK works as a broadly defined nation state. That said, I think it's worth dwelling for a moment on perhaps a similar example where it didn't work, former Yugoslavia. The Federal Republic of Yugoslavia was said to be made up of 6 republics, 5 nations, 3 religions, 2 alphabets, and 1 Tito. And under him, it worked. His authority ran through the boundaries of the state, and there was an integrated economy. In 1999, my headquarters as Commander of British Forces was in a bottle top factory in Pristina in Kosovo. And that factory made large bottle tops, it made small bottle tops, and it made medium-sized bottle tops for a range of bottles made in Slovenia and Croatia. My point is, it was an internally well-connected market that he'd put together. And on the political front, I remember asking Sonia, my interpreter in Bosnia in 1995, what she regarded herself as. Yugoslav, she said. My father was a Serb, my mother was a Croat, and I grew up in the Muslim quarter of Sarajevo. In my view, if Tito's successors had managed to hold that country together for another couple of generations, then Yugoslavia would be a fully functioning nation-state today, and not the fractured part of southeastern Europe that it's become. So if you accept my argument that a modern nation-state is more than just a group of people from one national identity living in their own patch of territory, then the heart of this debate tonight is whether what I've identified as a modern nation-state has continuing utility set against the alternatives. What are the alternatives? Of course, we accept that we live in a globalised world with instant communications and rapid travel. Multinational companies transcend national boundaries. But where is the meaningful political construct within all that? Where is the governance to order the wider community life? There is, of course, the supranational United Nations, set up in the aftermath of the Second World War. But that's an organisation designed to promote international cooperation and security, not one that aspires to become a world political entity. And then there are the G7 and G20 groups of states, but these are essentially just economic groupings. So what do we have between a world organisation like the United Nations and a range of modern nation states? Self-evidently, we have continental groupings. In our case, it's our common occupation of territory identified as Europe that makes us apparently Europeans. Now, I fully accept that the history of Europe has been fractious over the centuries, most disastrously so in the 20th century. But does that in itself make the case for going down the path of the integrated state of Europe as the proponents of the European project would wish? Economic cooperation and sensible integration is one thing, political integration is quite another. And this begs the question, is it the European Union that's brought peace to Europe, less the Balkans, over the last 70 years? Or has it been the United Nations as a forum for debate and cooperation? Or has it been NATO that has bound the United States of America into European security and faced down the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact? I suggest it's been far more the latter two organisations than the former, and will remain so. So, what do I conclude? A modern nation state, such as the United Kingdom, and as Yugoslavia might have been, retains a significant degree of utility and relevance, not just as a concept, but also as a practical framework for collective governance in the 21st century. Yes, there are alternatives, but I don't find them attractive, and therefore it's up to the proposition tonight to make the case for any one of those alternatives, a case I submit that they will struggle to make. The nation state works for the United Kingdom, and I submit it's here to stay, both as a concept and a reality. I beg to oppose the motion.